Anyway, let's watch Scott Jennings absolutely take this CNN panel apart. Let's go.
She argued that she has been one of Trump's strongest supporters, but that she doesn't, quote, worship or serve Donald Trump. On top of unendorsing, he actually said that he would support anyone who would be primarying her in the upcoming election.
And so it's not surprising that they have had a breakup of sorts after all. He didn't give her a ring. He just supported her for a little while.
Listen, this fire is spreading. I mean, right, it started off talking about Epstein in the beginning. Then during the shutdown, she was one of the few Republicans that correctly identified Donald Trump's unwillingness to deal with the ACA subsidies and lower healthcare costs for Americans as being one of the reasons why the shutdown occurred.
Yeah, she was very outspoken about that.
Now she's talking about foreign policy. This is not going away. Whatever is going on between them seems to only be heating up.
Of anyone beating Donald Trump at this game?
Never. This is his game, and he's great at it. And she's barking up a tree that's going to fall on her really hard.
You know, it's interesting. He has some people who profess to be strong supporters who do oppose him more often than the people that you might not think are his strongest supporters. She's one of them. Thomas Massie in Kentucky is another one. Rand Paul, my home state senator, he takes on Trump, although they profess to be Trump supporters. In this case, I think he had the order out of order. I trace all this back to his decision, the righteous decision to strike Iran. She was against it. So were some of the people who occupy that wing of the party. He defied them. And since that time, they all seem to be stridently picking at him on this issue or that. And then, of course, everybody knows in Washington, Miles, you know, the fastest way to get in front of a television camera if you're a Republican is to come out and crap on Donald Trump. And so that is what she is doing.
But you know, Scott,
that is what she is doing because she is mad at him over these issues, and that's what happened.
Scott, I trace it further back than that. I trace it back to 10 years ago when you said Donald Trump was an authoritarian. And you know what, Scott, I've got to hand it to you. That was a remarkable forecast because 10 years later, I think you called it. Here's Donald Trump today, the man with the heart and soul of a fascist, showing us he now has the bona fides. By tonight, ordering investigations into American citizens. That's why members of his party, that's why members of his
running the executive branch. Why are you so upset he's running the executive branch?
For the same reasons you predicted he shouldn't. For the same reasons, Scott, you said he violated his oath and he should never be back in that office. That's why I'm upset for the man being in the Oval Office.
I happily voted for him 3 times.
I know that.
The alternative was terrible.
And a lot of your friends were shocked.
Yeah, well, a lot of my friends would have been shocked at you trying to subvert the elected president of the United States, which you did.
Well, I proudly did. I proudly
some
said
mid-level
to the
staffer
country
substituting his judgment for the elected president of the United States.
Well, Scott, I would have loved to have seen you stand up to it.
Good luck.
So Scott's being professional and has a smile on his face, but he's really irritated here. So this Miles Taylor guy on the panel, I'm going to tell you about him in a second. He comes on and does what every new liberal guest does, especially the youngsters. He goes straight for the cheap authoritarian tendencies line that Scott wrote in an op-ed back in 2016. And to be precise, Scott warned at the time that Trump's campaign rhetoric showed authoritarian impulses and a willingness to push executive power. Then Trump actually governed, and Scott changed his view based on what he saw. That's called intellectual honesty. The left has zero concept of this. They cling to the same talking points forever because admitting they were wrong would break the whole act. But here's why Scott fires back so hard. Miles Taylor is the last person who should be lecturing anyone about authoritarianism. This is the guy who served as DHS chief of staff under Trump in his first administration, secretly penned the anonymous New York Times op-ed, secretly wrote the book A Warning, and spent Trump's first term undermining his own administration from the inside. If this guy had any convictions whatsoever, he would have resigned and spoken publicly. Instead, he stayed for the resume line and attacked Trump anonymously from the shadows. So when Scott asks, why do you have such a problem with the president running the executive branch? He knows what he's doing. He's reminding Miles Taylor and everyone watching that the man wagging his finger about authoritarianism is the same guy who sabotaged the president he worked for. And honestly, if I were Scott, I'd be irritated too.